finally spooky season and I am hyped to, fingers crossed, get through my TBR, but also read a ton of spooky books. So October is the month of the Spookopolython, and as I mentioned in the announcement video, I'm actually going to be rolling as I go this year for the first time ever, so I'm not going to be bringing you a Bookopoly TBR before the readathon starts. But I only get back from Rome on the very last day of September, and I have to kind of, on the 1st of October, I have to get my life together, and I also have a catch-up book club live show for Best Served Cold. So I'm going to be including my first Spookopoly roll at the end of this video because I just feel like, for my own peace of mind, it would be better for me to know what my first book of the readathon is going to be going into October, instead of on that Sunday morning like scrambling to try and get a roll together and pick a book. So aside from that first Bookopoly roll, this video is going to be my mandatory reads for October that are going to serve as a pile of books that I'm going to be picking from when possible as I'm rolling. So my priority throughout the month of October is going to be Bookopoly, but where applicable I will be filling the prompts with books that are on my TBR, and where books that are on my TBR can't fit, I'm going to be trying to prioritize spooky reads, so horrors, thrillers, gothic fiction, all of that good stuff. And I'm so excited. I really like having a mix of like my mandatory reads and mood reads. I feel like it really helps to motivate me to read. And as I mentioned in September, I didn't think in my September TBR that I was going to get a lot of reading done throughout the month because I was traveling a lot, and that has proved true. So a lot of these books, as I predicted, have rolled over from September. I have a couple to add. As usual, no big deal if I don't get to them in the month of October, but they are going to be serving as my main pile of Bookopoly reads. And because I didn't read a whole bunch in September, that usually means that my reading for the month after, aka October, is pretty good. I tend to have a pretty good reading month following a month where I didn't read the most. So we'll get stuck into the TBR, starting off with the book club books, of which there are two. The most upsetting of those two is The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, and this is upsetting because I have to read it. So while I would like to do as many Bookopoly rolls as possible, I'm going to have to read a certain amount of pages of this a day to have it done for, I'm aiming for around the midpoint of the month. It's an 875 page book, and I calculated to have that done by the midway point of October. It's going to be 62 pages a day, and this series is slow. If you guys are unaware of what this is, it is the 5th book, I believe, yeah, book 5 in the Wheel of Time series, which is an adult epic fantasy series that is a classic struggle between the forces of dark and light. So in this series, we are following this age's dragon reborn, who is a pivotal figure in this battle between dark and light, and we are following him and a group of his friends who are Tarvaran, that are people that are able to alter the weave of the world, so the pattern of events in every age, as they presumably eventually tip the scales more towards light, because at this point, with every age, the world has been turning more towards the dark. It's a very slow series. I find Robert Jordan's writing to be very frustrating. While I do enjoy the plot, I don't love the delivery. So the only way that I can get through this series is by breaking it down into manageable chunks, which unfortunately means that I will have to read 62 pages a day for the first half of October. The second of my book club books is for my Patreon Alpha Ho book club, which is a fantasy romance book club. We are going to be starting a new series from October because I DNF'd the Bloodgrace series by Vela Roth. It was just far too slow for me, and I was not enjoying my time reading it. So the winner of the most recent poll is a series that I've already started. I've already read the first 2 books. So this one's going to be a reread for me, and that is Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. So this is the first book in a almost post-apocalyptic fantasy romance series because it's set in our world, but a different version of our world. So around the time that our main character was born, the veil between the worlds of the Fae and the humans fell, resulting in a war that killed the main character's father. So since then, she has been the ward of the king, and her best friend is the prince, and the world after the Fae Wars split into 2. So the Fae have half of the world and the humans have half, and this series is set in Budapest, where there is a checkpoint through the middle of the city. Now, from the position of privilege that our main character is in, she likes to help out the lower classes where she can, and she often steals drugs from the trains that transport them through the city and through the 2 halves of the world, like the Fae and the human world, to give those drugs to the people that need them and keep the profits away from the elite. So one day when she's doing that, she gets caught at the checkpoint to the Feylands and thrown into a maximum security prison where she meets this legendary warrior called Warwick Farkas. I really like this series. I find it a little bit formulaic, like the same kind of events happening over and over again, but I think that it's a very compelling read and it's a very good time. And I'm very excited to reread these because it's been a while. I feel like I need to refresh before I continue, but also continue on and finish out the series with my patrons. I do just have one arc that I need to read in October, and I'm a little bit mad about it because I said if I read 4 books in October, I wanted this to be one of the 4. And I did read 4 books, but I forgot about a different arc that I had to prioritize. So I didn't get to Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, which is Cassandra Clare's adult debut. This one is a adult high fantasy. It's multi-perspective. One of our main characters is the sword catcher for a prince, so like his bodyguard, his body double. And the other one is a physician. Why can't I say physician? I stumble over it every time. The other character is a physician that is part of a community ostracized for she's part of a community that is ostracized for its rare magical abilities. I'm still really excited to get into this one. I'm used to Cassandra Clare delivering characters that you can really root for with a plot that you can really get invested in. And I feel like I've been lacking that a lot recently. Like a lot of criticisms of the books that I'm reading is that I don't feel that invested. So I feel that like while I've had my issues with Cassandra Clare as an author, I feel like I'm gonna like this one because I do actually still really like her books. The release date on this one is the 10th of October. So hopefully I will be able to get to it pretty early on in the month. And then we just have my Patreon pick. So obviously I knew that I was going to be falling behind again based on anticipating not reading a lot in September. So we do still have the July, August and September Patreon picks on here, as well as the one that I'm going to be picking for October. No, not November. I'm getting way too ahead of myself here. So the July pick was The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. This one was Nazy's pick. And this one is a historical fiction about a young girl who is trying to stop the Nazis from burning books in Nazi Germany. I think that Death is either a character or a narrator of this book, and this, while I don't read a ton of historical fiction and especially World War II fiction, isn't really my thing. I prefer more like medieval folkloric historical if I do read any. This is one of those like timeless kind of books that transcends its genre, so I feel like there is great potential for me to really enjoy this one. And actually I didn't realize the text in here is pretty big, which kind of compensates for it being a little bit on the longer side. It's like 550 pages. The August pick was Farina's pick, and that is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adier. This is the first book in a YA duology. I think it was published around like 2015 and was quite hyped. And it's set in a world where a king takes a new bride every day, but the brides are never seen again, so they assumedly die or are killed. And the main character's sister was one of these brides, so she does the unthinkable and actually volunteers herself to be the next bride of the king to get to the bottom of what happened to her sister and also presumably get her revenge as well. And our August pick, which was Ina's pick and one that would be perfect if I could get it into October, is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This one is, I actually don't know the plot of this one at all. It's just always described as lesbian necromancers in space. I believe that it is quite a complex book that kind of, the more you progress through the book or the series, the more it makes sense. It's one that I've been really excited for a while. I get the same vibes from it as I got from Red Rising and like Jade City, not in terms of like any similarities between them, just in the way that I feel like this is a series that I'm really gonna love, which is one of the reasons why I've put it off for so long. I have heard as well that the audiobook is recommended for this, so maybe I'll give it a try. You guys know that I am a little bit picky with audio, but where the audiobook provides an almost like better reading experience than reading it physically, I'm always willing to give it a try. So yeah, I have no idea what to expect from this, but at the same time I'm expecting like really good things. And finally, let us pick our October Patreon pick. I don't know if there's anything particularly spooky in here, but if there is, I would like it to jump out at me. But if you guys are unfamiliar with this, if you're part of the inner circle tier of my Patreon, you can recommend a book that goes into this pot, and every month I will pull one out and read it within the handful of months that follow it being picked. And as always, thank you to my inner circle patrons because you guys eternally do the most. But I'm just gonna get stuck in because I'm not sure if I have any preference apart from ideally something spooky. Not that I'm likely to get to this in October, so does it really matter? But we'll go with this one. This one's yellow, which means that it was added prior to the start of 2023. And my October Patreon pick is going to be Splintered by A.G. Howard. This is a throwback, and this is Alex's pick. So this one is, I'm pretty sure it's a YA fantasy from 2013, so it's truly a throwback. So I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but I will definitely give it a try. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but I like Alice in Wonderland, but mainly for the aesthetics and like Tim Burton's portrayal of Alice in Wonderland. I have yet to read an Alice in Wonderland retelling that actually works for me, and I haven't read the original story yet either, because if you know me, you know that I don't like whimsy, and that is like a key theme that runs through Alice in Wonderland. But this one is about a girl who hears the whispers of bugs and flowers, which is the same affliction that landed her mother in a mental hospital. It's a family curse that stretches back generations, but she realizes that it's kind of real when she finds herself in Wonderland. It says that the real Wonderland is a place far darker and more twisted than Lewis Carroll ever let on, and Alyssa must pass a series of tests, including draining an ocean of Alice's tears, waking the slumbering tea party, and subduing a vicious bandersnatch to fix Alice's mistakes and save her family. It's only 371 pages, so I'm kind of hoping that this will be fun and kind of well done, but the 2013 YA of it all has me a little dubious, you know, but I'll for sure give it a try, and thank you very much to Alex for your recommendation. Now that all of my mandatory reads are out of the way, let us get into our first Spookopoly roll. I have chosen some spooky themed dice, and my counter for this round, instead of being Selena, is going to be Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus, because I feel like she fits the mood. As with everybody else, I'm going to be starting on go, and let's go for roll number 1. 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that is a book with a green cover. So we landed on green cover, which I mean is not horrible, but if I landed on any of the color prompts, I wanted it to be purple or orange, because I had stellar picks for these, like just lined up and waiting to be chosen. You are very wet, my boy. You are very, very wet. And I don't have a towel right now to fix this. So I do have a couple of books on my TBR now that would fit this prompt, because Splintered by A.G. Howard is very green, but the one that I'm going to be going with is Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. I don't want to fall behind on my Patreon book club again, and while this one does have like a lot of black on the cover, you can see it has a very noticeable green tinge to it. I feel like the dominant color on here is definitely green. You are so wet. Oh, this is not fun. I also know, because this is going to be a reread for me, that this is a quick read, so I feel like it's a good one to pair with my 60 pages a day of The Fires of Heaven, and one that I can get through pretty quickly so that I can move on to my second roll. So this plus Swordcatcher, which has left the building, and also Splintered by A.G. Howard is my October TBR. Down in the comments, please let me know if you are participating in the Spookoplathon, and if you've already planned your TBR, let me know what your first read of the month is going to be, and also of course let me know if you would recommend any of the books that I have lined up for this month. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find links to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as link to my Bookish Candle website, the Etsy for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me in a very wet Hamilton today. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.